At the beginning of winter, Atlantic waves bring a new generation of eels from their spawning grounds in the Sargasso Sea to the coast of the Bay of Biscay, which is where we meet Andrew Kerr. He leads the sustainable eel group SEG, which works across Europe to help preserve this fascinating species.
Over 1 billion glass eels arrive here every year. It is the most extraordinary journey. It's in the shape of a leaf, and it floats, twisting in the current to catch this incredible drift across the Atlantic, to go up the freshwater rivers, to put on weight, maybe over 10, 15, 20 years, and then to make the return journey via the Azores back to the Sargasso Sea.
But what has gone wrong with this cycle to cause the European eel population to fall by 90% in just a few decades? Let's follow the fish. Some tiny glass eels are captured in a controlled way at arrival. Most are then released into Europe's rivers and wetlands. The rest are farm-raised to commercial size. Jerome runs a family business raising glass eels. The eels he buys from local fishermen will mature into yellow and then silver eels, a delicacy with high market demand. The whole sector works with SEG to make the supply chain more sustainable. Jerome's facility uses the latest technologies to grow 5 million eels.
It's a closed circuit where we recycle the water. Thanks to this stability, we don't use any antibiotics or pesticides.
3/4 of the eels consumed in Europe come from farms like Jerome's. The rest are captured in the wild. In the Netherlands, eel dishes are a long-standing tradition. This company produces more than 200 tons of smoked eel a year. It also supports large-scale eel recovery projects. Europe's eel sector is concerned with the future of the species and is helping to fund conservation measures.
If we do not take care of nature, we will lose our work, we will lose our culture, we will lose our traditions in eating eel. And that's very important that companies who depend on nature have the brains to accept that nature has its limitations and take care of that.
The crisis began in the 1980s, when the arrival of glass eels from the Atlantic dropped alarmingly. Dutch biologist Wilhelm Dekker was one of the first to notice the decline.
I do remember as a teenager that I went out fishing in the night, the sea full of young eels, and that's completely gone. We do not really know the cause of the decline. Habitat loss, pollution of inland waters, fisheries. We did introduce a parasite. It might be climate change on the ocean. We think it probably is a mix of these, but essentially we don't know.
Tons of precious glass eels are also being illegally smuggled to Asia in refrigerated containers and luggage. After Europol busted major criminal groups in Spain and other countries, the black market was reduced to an estimated 50 tons of baby eels a year. That is still 2 to 3 times more than the whole legal European market. Some suggest banning all eel fishing, but Andrew Kerr says that could lead to even more poaching. The EU's eel regulations' long-term measures seem to be more effective.
The 1980-2010, it was 15% a year decline. Once the eel regulation came in, 2007, by 2010, that drop started to plateau. And we've now had 11 years of plateau and small increase. So we are starting to turn the corner. However, we can't do it by fishing alone. We have to change how our freshwater is managed.
Rivers like the Frémur in northern France are vital for eel migration. Eels have evolved to overcome some natural obstacles, but today there are just too many dams and weirs on their path. Such barriers also affect the flow of rivers, increasing pollution and toxicity that weaken the eels.
Il y a 1,2 million de barrages en
There are
Europe.
1.2 million dams in Europe, which is about one dam every 400 meters of watercourse. All that contributes to the decline of this species that needs to migrate and live in a flow of water that's not impacted, that offers fluvial continuum from the source to the sea.
Depuis la source jusqu'à la mer.
Special eel traps let scientists take accurate measurements. A study on the Frémur shows migration numbers are decreasing despite recent spikes. This is possibly due to barriers. In order to follow eel regulation, EU member states are taking measures to facilitate migration. River barriers are often necessary to produce drinking water or generate power, but they can be mitigated by so-called fish passes. Their effectiveness, however, is limited. Researchers suggest smarter measures, like the brief opening of barriers during migration peaks.
Despite the measures taken here with the installation of the eel passes, the population still declined. These efforts are necessary, but they're not enough.
Hydropower plants are an important source of renewable energy, but their turbines can injure and kill mature eels heading back to the ocean to spawn. The Eels Over the Dike project around the Netherlands aims to mitigate that threat. Fishermen like Frans Koman and his son catch eels off-season to release their catch on the other side of the dike, creating a safe passage to the sea.
These eels have been growing here for maybe 15 to 30 years. It wouldn't be morally right to allow them to get injured in this hydropower plant.
The fishermen are being paid for their work by the Dutch Foundation of Eel Traders, Farmers and Fishers, and by the hydropower industry. The foundation says the released catches here have grown almost sixfold since 2013, which could indicate that their efforts are not in vain, and the eel stock is gradually recovering. The positive signs are encouraging, but eel remains a critically endangered species. With its long lifespan, restoring the population will take many decades of continued effort.
In Europe now we have the Green Deal. We have social, economic, environmental factors all coming together. What we want is a Green Deal for eel deal. And then we can get the numbers back.